Hey there, I'm Allie Ernest. Have you ever wanted to write a novel in a month? At least 50,000 words of it? Well, NaNoWriMo is the solution for you. It's a competition that happens every year in November where people all over the world try to write 50,000 words in a single month. Yeah, that's kind of insane. And if you have a full-time job, that makes it even harder. So today's video is going to look at 5 tips you can utilize that will help you write 50,000 words in a month and win NaNoWriMo with a full-time job. For me, my story, to give you a little bit of context, is the fact that I've known about NaNoWriMo for a really long time, but I was working. I didn't have time because I had a lot of trouble just keeping up with my life in general, and teaching on the side. Well, that was my main job, so I guess it wasn't on the side, but you get what I mean. It was a lot of stuff going on. I was like, I can't write a lot of words, and it took me a year and a half to write my first draft of my first novel, and it was only around 49,000 words. Yeah, so NaNoWriMo was going to be a huge leap for me. However, in 2018, I was like, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to figure out how to teach and write 50,000 words in a single month. Yeah, so I had to come up with a lot of different tricks and tips that would help me, and I hope that it helps you. And guys, I didn't just write 50,000 words in a month. I wrote 80,000 words that month. Now, were they great words? Nah. It's a messy first draft, and it needs a lot of revisions. But I still won NaNoWriMo, and I'm still so stinking proud of that accomplishment. And I did it all while teaching middle school English. And guys, if you know anything about teaching, you know you can't leave your work at work. You come home and you have to lesson plan, you have to grade, you have to answer emails. It's tough. It's tough. And while you're at school, you're teaching all day. You're on your feet all day long, and your planning is taken up with meetings and planning, and that's kind of rare. Mostly it's meetings. But you're busy all day long, and then to come home and try to write something when you have to grade and lesson plan and answer emails and just, yeah, and cook dinner if you cook dinner in your house. There's a lot to do, and writing doesn't really take priority. And that was how I felt just about every single year I taught, and I wanted to do Nano. However, in 2018, like I said, I bit the bullet and I did it. And I put together the 5 tips that really helped me through that. So I'm going to share them with you today. Feel free to use them, and hopefully it inspires you to enter NaNoWriMo and win this year. And if you don't win, I think any amount of words you write in November is valuable. For example, last year, I only wrote 30,000 words, but those were actually really valuable words, and they were much better than actually winning NaNoWriMo. I'll just put it that way, but I'll get into that in a different video because that's a whole nother beast there. So my 5 tips that might help you out, feel free to mix and match these or combine them with your own little strategies as well to fit your own lives. So the first one and the last one are going to be probably the most important, so that's why I put them as bookends. But the first one is carving out writing time. And if you are like me, that is a huge task, and it was pretty rough, but I had to make it happen. If I wanted to accomplish my goal of winning NaNoWriMo and writing 50,000 words in a single month, I needed to carve out some time. So let me give you a little more context to that. So that year specifically, I was driving an hour plus to work every morning and an hour plus at night coming home. And so it was difficult anyway because I was in the car for a really long time, and by the time you get home, your brain is dead, or my brain was dead. And so I needed to figure out a way to fit in writing time where I wasn't brain dead, just be honest. And so my school started at 9:15. I had to be there by 8:30, but I lived an hour-ish away, and traffic is really bad in the area I live in, so you always had to account for it might take an hour and a half. So I had to leave and I had to make copies because I'm kind of a procrastinator. And so I'd always have to make copies in the morning, and I have to get there at like 8:15. So really, I left my house at 6:30 a.m. It was rough. That's really early. And usually I would wake up at 6, get ready real fast, and walk out the door with my coffee in hand and breakfast. So that was how I usually did my mornings, and when I was trying to think of ways to implement writing into my daily life to win NaNoWriMo, I had to really look at that and say, you know what? I could utilize my morning time. I don't like getting up early. I really don't. But I'm already up at the crack of dawn anyway. What's another 30 minutes? So I got up at 5:30 a.m. every day, got ready, and ate my breakfast while I wrote every morning from 6 to 6:30 a.m. And it was hard the first several days because, I'm not a morning person. And it was difficult, like I said. But once I got into that habit of writing every morning at 6 a.m. to 6:30, it was just 30 minutes. 15 minutes sometimes, because sometimes I'd oversleep a little bit. But either way, I still got that writing time before I left for school that morning when I wasn't brain dead. I usually was drinking my coffee and eating some apples and peanut butter because that's my favorite breakfast. But I was able to get out a lot of words once I got used to that routine. So it'd take maybe 2 or 3 days to kind of get used to that and get into the year that, hey, this is my writing time. But I would crank out, if I had a full 30 minutes, I could crank out about 1,000 words because I was just ready and my brain was fresh. It was great. So that's my first advice, is to carve out some writing time. In my case, it was in the morning. And I did carve out other times during the day, which I'll get into in the next little tidbit here, which is step number 2 or tip number 2, which was utilize Google Drive or Microsoft Office Suite, specifically if you have the Internet Cloud function or the OneDrive function. And at the time I was using Google Drive. Google Drive is great. It does tend to lag if your document gets really big, which is one reason why I have moved to Microsoft Suite. But at the time I used Google Drive, Google Docs, because I could access it from anywhere I wanted. So if I had a doctor's appointment that day, I could type it on my phone, or if I brought my laptop, I could do that. Or I could do it anywhere. I could write anywhere, anytime that I had the time to do so. So I really utilized that. And Google Drive and having some kind of cloud thing to access it from anywhere was pivotal in me winning NaNoWriMo, because I got lucky that quarter. So in that school quarter, the way my school had it arranged was you eat lunch with your kids, in the lunchroom. However, second quarter, the 8th grade got off for that quarter, and I didn't have to eat with the kids. So I got an extra time to actually, in my planning, I got about a 30-minute lunch instead of like a 20 minute lunch. And I got to eat it in my classroom by myself. So what I would do is during my lunch time right there, I would close my door, I would lock it, I would turn off all my lights, and I had my window behind me, and I would eat my lunch while I wrote. It was fantastic because as soon as that 30 minutes up, I always had meetings or something to do. But that 30 minutes right then was vital. And I didn't quite get as many words down because my brain had started, I'd been teaching for about a couple hours at that point. So my brain was a little tired. But I was able to get a good amount of words, maybe not as much as that morning, but I was still able to put in some words. And guys, 1667, which is the required amount each day if you want to win Nano, technically, I'll use that technically there, was really easy to get because I already wrote roughly 1,000 in the morning, and I would roughly write maybe 300 to 500 at lunch. So that would leave me about 100 or so left unless I had a really good day. And so after lunch, I would go back and teach and do my thing, and I would go about my day, and then I would come home. And at that point, I was really, really tired, but I knew I had maybe a couple hundred words to finish. So what I would do is I would carve out little bits of time whenever I could. So mainly this was when I was cooking dinner. So when I would cook dinner, I would put whatever in the oven and I would write. Or I would chop the vegetables, I would write a sentence or two. And then I would, cook the vegetables and then write a sentence or two. And so I utilized that time right there, and I would find spaces of time where I wasn't doing anything where I could write. I always had my laptop with me. And so that's how I carved out time. And I utilized, like I said, that online Google Docs, just because I could do that anywhere and make use of those little bitty snippets of time I had every so often. And so I would hit my goal just about every day, which leads me to my third point is I said just about every day because I did not hit the 1667 every single day. And I still wrote 80,000 words in a month. And let me explain why. And some people have also kind of talked about this method, but if you stockpile your words at the beginning of the month, it will help you out so much. So at the beginning, for the first week and a half, I wrote well over the 1667 kind of bar there. I wrote pretty much 2,000 plus every single day. And so I made a stockpile of words because when you hit that second week slump, And it's a real thing, guys. It's a real thing, because you get real excited at the beginning of the month and you're like, yeah, I'm cranking out all the words, and then all of a sudden you hit a wall. And I thought people were kidding. I was like, no, I can do it. I'm on fire right now, because I'm writing 2,000 plus words a day. And then I just smacked right into that brick wall that said no. And I would only get maybe 500 words a day, if that. And that was a couple days, but because I had stockpiled and I had written so much at the very front end of the month, it really helped me prepare for the 2 or 3 days, maybe it might have been a week span of words that weren't coming at all. They were just everything I wrote was terrible, and it just sounded bad, and it was just pulling teeth. And so because I stockpiled in the month, it didn't push me back so much. And once I got through that slump and I finally hit a point in my story, I was home free. But getting through that slump, knowing that I had words stockpiled, I wasn't getting so far behind, was really helpful for me and beneficial to me actually winning and staying motivated, I guess, throughout the entire month. The next one kind of goes with that as well, but is to write every day. If you get 10 words down, that's an accomplishment. And like I mentioned earlier, I want you to win NaNoWriMo, and I think it's a great accomplishment if you can write that amount of words in a month. But just writing every day and writing quality words is just as good as getting that, as accomplishing that. It might even be better, which is, like I said, last year I only wrote 30,000 words, but they were such quality words that I was happy with the outcome, that even if I didn't win. However, back when I did win and wrote the 80,000 words a month, I wrote every single day. Most days were really good, and I was able to get my word count because I was motivated. And I tried to write more so I could stockpile for the days I didn't feel as great. But even on the days that were just crappy, I at least wrote a little bit. It might have been 30 words, but I still wrote that day. Even on Thanksgiving, so I live in the US, and we have Thanksgiving, which is a huge holiday. We go out of town. It's fun. It's fun. You'll see family, whatever. I even wrote on Thanksgiving. I wrote at night after everyone had gone to bed, granted. So I got maybe 100 words in, but I still wrote because I was dedicated. I was determined to win NaNoWriMo. And that was really helpful, even if I got 100 words that day. It was helpful. And the last one, like I said, is the other more important one. Like I said, the first one was carving out time. The other one, the bookend, was the other most important, which was write with abandon. And this is advice I'm hesitant to give any other time because it's good and it's bad. Because if you write with reckless abandon, you're just going to be writing. And that's good because you're getting stuff on paper, and that's the most important bit. But sometimes it doesn't produce quality words. And so I do want to caveat that by saying you might have to cut some of the words you write in the reckless abandon moments. However, you did get the words on paper, and you can actually work with that. So in a sense, it's still a really good thing. And by writing with reckless abandon, I mean I just wrote no matter what. I just kept going. I didn't pause to even think. I was basically fast drafting. And I was fast drafting without a plan because I basically pants this book. And this was good because I wrote descriptions. I wrote lots of descriptions. And that's another mini tip to kind of go with this one is describe every room. Don't sell yourself short, because if you're like me, I'm really bad at descriptions and usually I forget to put them in. But if I am just trying to describe everything, I will probably refresh it later and have to tweak it, but at least it's there. So that was really helpful. I also, if I wrote a paragraph or something and I ended up not liking that paragraph, but instead of deleting it, I wanted to still have that on my word count, I would just strike through on that document for the words I knew I was going to delete later. You can also just write whatever comes to mind. It might be a stream of consciousness free write in the document. That's cool too. You're going to have to delete that later probably, but it will help you get your juices flowing. One thing I also did that was really helpful for me in that writing with reckless abandon is I watched several YouTube videos and they gave me this tip. And I don't remember who exactly said this tip, and if you're watching this, I'm sorry, please tell me down below if this was you. But whenever you get stuck, you have to raise the stakes in some way, and that'll help get your juices flowing and keep the writing keeping on. And a way to do that is either put someone in a tree or set something on fire. And I feel like there's probably a third one, but I don't remember what it is. But I took kind of those to heart. Now, I might not have actually literally set something on fire or put somebody in a tree. They actually did that in the Hunger Games, if you notice. Katniss got stuck in a tree and then everything caught on fire. Just saying. I wonder if Suzanne Collins had a stuck moment and was like, I'm going to put her in a tree and set everything on fire. Just saying. That's what I did, metaphorically or literally in my novel. If I got stuck, I would raise the stakes in some shape, form, or fashion. And that usually got me unstuck because it got me excited about writing again. So therefore, I was able to write a whole lot of words because I just kept going. I just wrote with that reckless abandon. Granted, like I said, at the end, I realized I'm going to have to cut a lot of those words. And that's been a struggle for me to revise. But I still won Nano. I still had the story down on paper. And I actually am in the middle of still revising that and kind of structuring that, how to revise it. And I'll get into that in a different video. So I mentioned fast drafting in this course, and those are my 5 tips. Those are the most important ones. But I did recently watch and take Jessica Brody's fast drafting course. And if you're interested in that, it's really, really, really helpful. And I learned so much. I'm really excited to implement that. And a lot of those tips will help you in NaNoWriMo. And I will link that down below. I'm not paid by her or anything, but it was so helpful to me. I did want to share it with you guys. And I think that if you're looking to compete in NaNoWriMo this year, it'll definitely help you. Definitely worth paying the monthly fee there. But anyway, if you are interested in my content, definitely think about subscribing down below. You can also find my streams every Tuesday morning at 8:30 a.m. and Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I'm doing writing sprints. You can find me there or on my website at www.allieernest.com. And until my next video, I'm going to peace out, but happy writing.